And good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show via Zoom video conference this morning from Mary M. Knight, the Superintendent Matt Mallery. Good morning, Matt. How are you doing?
Good, Jeff. How are you?
I am well, thanks. Mary M. Knight is online at marymknight.com, and Mary M. Knight is online in general this year. Is that kind of where we're at?
That is correct. We, based on a recommendation from Mason County Health about 2 weeks ago, the recommendation is that that Mason County schools should start the school year in a distance learning model, just because of the number of confirmed COVID cases that were out, and the Department of Health issued a new guidance for school districts in that school decision-making tree. And so they have a new health risk factor. It's a 3-tiered factor of high, medium, and low risk for each county for schools. The factor is 75 cases or more within the last 14-day period. And so Mason County is clearly in that high risk category, at least right now.
Yeah. We have some upcoming starts of the school, but let's go back just a little bit. How is the Mary M. Knight community doing and has been doing over the summer, getting ready for whatever we're eventually seeing as it's distance learning now?
I think the community, in many ways, I think it's like most communities. I think they really wanted schools to start back in person if it was safe. And so when I started doing some surveys of community members, and I had at least one small focus group, and this was in mid-July, that had kind of turned into, there were some real concerns about coming back full-blown face-to-face with all of the health needs that we needed to put in place with the mandatory face coverings, the daily health screening. The biggest obstacle for us, and I think for every public schools, is the requirement for 6-foot distancing in the classroom while seated. I purchased some additional student desks, so we took out tables, put in individual student desks, and based on our class size, the biggest classroom we could do safely, we could probably put 15 kids in the classroom.
Oh, wow.
The other problem is with our cafeteria. I have 12-foot long cafeteria tables. Regularly with our high school kids, we could put 10 kids at a table, sitting comfortably with space between them. But with that 6-foot distancing, I can only sit 3 kids at a table.
Wow.
But it cuts my capacity for just serving lunch down to, from where we would do like 65 or 70 kids to about 38 I could put in there seated. So there's lots of obstacles for that. So that was some of the recommendation that I gave to the board back in July about going to a hybrid model where we would do a A-B schedule, kind of split the kids in half. So we'd have 75 kids on campus, 2 days a week, 2 different groups. And then we would be doing Wednesdays in distance learning. The rationale with that is that based off of what we know and were recommended, particularly by our Department of Health and Mason County Health, is that we just had to be prepared at any time during the school year that we would have to shut our doors for maybe 14 days, and we need to be able to flip the switch quickly and go to full distance learning. So that was the planning back in July.
As you start to look at those types of options and talk with the board more, just as with school districts all around the county and the state, budget time is happening now. I'm sure this has impacted Mary M. Knight schools very deeply. Can you talk a little bit about what the board and you have been working on budget-wise?
Yeah, so every school district's required to pass a budget for the upcoming school year. We had our budget meeting in July based on what we know or knew at the time, and a major component of that is your enrollment. We factored ours on what we knew at the time, basically at 150 kids, which is what we traditionally have. The concern, I think, for all superintendents is we don't really know what we're going to land on our first official count day. That is a big worry if we're going to actually have the projected amount of children attend school. The other thing about it is that, you know, the metric on that for years, my entire career, is that on the first day of school and on the first official count day, which is the first day of the month, is that, you know, we count tennis shoes under the desk. That was just the way we've all done it. Now, under this distance model, it's a little bit more problematic in that we need to have evidence that kids have made a contact with a teacher, but in different modalities. Either that's a face-to-face contact through a video streaming, whether that is an email between kids, a text message, or some type of evidence that they've accessed their learning management system, or they've accessed a lesson remotely. So that's a new challenge for us, or a new goal for us in this whole process.
Technologically speaking, how is the Merriam Knight community able to have those types of, you know, with the Chromebooks and the internet capabilities for streaming and things like that?
Well, the technology part, you know, I invested in we purchased 150 new Chromebooks back in June, anticipating that we'd have to go into this distance learning model at some point of this current school year. So yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're issuing out Chromebooks to every child in the district. We're having parent-teacher conferences. Started that yesterday and today. The challenge is broadband access out here.
Mm-hmm.
The PUD number 3 has been a tremendous partner in helping get those Wi-Fi beacons established out here. The data I heard about 3 weeks ago in a presentation of all those free Wi-Fi beacons that they put out through the entire county, the 3 beacons that get the most amount of use with data exchange, both uploads and downloads, is the one that's located in downtown Shelton, really very close to your business.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is at the Matlock Grange and Schaefer State Park.
Wow.
3 beacons that get the most amount of use out of all of them they put out. So that should tell you something, that the population out here is really utilizing those, and we are in desperate need of that infrastructure. And PUD has been a great partner in that. I think they are looking for additional funds to speed up their fiber install out in this part of the county. I know we have state legislators, we have our state representatives trying to get additional funds directed towards the county and really all of the Olympic Peninsula to get a good broadband infrastructure in place.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk over the years about connecting everybody, and this may be the break point where it is the start of it actually happening. So you talked about the teacher introductions, and that's a great time of the start of the school year for the kids to be able to meet their teachers for the first time and kind of get an understanding. After that initial meeting, how is the learning going to progress? Is it a curriculum? Is there an overall curriculum, or is it individual teachers, just as if it were the classroom?
Well, it's kind of, it is both right now. So we invested in new curriculum over the summer, both at the elementary and high school level. That is, we can deliver it in different modalities. We can do it fully online, digitally, and then it is a mixture of print material, and then we can actually print off paper packets if need be. So we're trying to address the different levels of access for our families out here. It is going to be, we're trying to launch it primarily distance learning digitally. So we did invest in some Wi-Fi hotspots. And so for part of our meal delivery this time around is our bus drivers are going out in vans with a Wi-Fi hotspot in their van. So when kids walk out to get their meal, they can at least access that Wi-Fi hotspot.
Oh, wow.
The challenge is cell phone service out here is spotty.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a good Verizon signal, it's effective. If we don't have a good Verizon signal, it's not effective. And the other part of the day is we're trying to put our vans in certain areas of the community and at least park them for an hour. And so parents can drive up and at least access that digitally for that period of time. We're only
And
in day 2 of that, so we're trying to figure out the best way to go about doing that.
and then have you identified students who are perhaps with learning disabilities that are unable to either connect virtually like you and I are right now, or they definitely need some sort of support structure with a teacher? Is there been conversations about how to do that?
Yeah, we know we've identified those students, and so Jeff, I think certainly when the counties gets to a moderate level, we'll be looking at bringing larger amounts of students back. We know that as the dust settles here in the next week and a half or 2 weeks, we're going to have to develop a plan to bring in very small groups of students who cannot access uh, an education any other way than in face-to-face. We haven't really got a firm plan of that. Right now, it'd probably be in groups of 5. You know, one thing's working with Mason County Health and Dr. Stein. There's this huge emphasis about cohorting of students or putting them in very small, I think the new term is pods.
Uh-huh.
So you just get a single group of students. They would stay together for the entire day. They don't intermingle with other students, with the idea behind that if by chance one of them were positive with the coronavirus, they would only expose a very small amount of other students and staff. And so that is some of the challenge, how to do that safely and really clearly identifying those students that we need to bring back on campus who don't have access any other way. So yeah, we've been talking about trying to do that. It's going to be after kind of the dust settles here, but I know in the next couple of weeks we'll be developing that plan and really clearly identifying those students and how to bring them back safely. But it'd be very students, very small amount.
Sure, sure. I mean, it's important for those students to be able to access the same level of education as everybody else. Well, school has started in the
It
Merriam
has,
Knight School District, and
yeah.
it's a crazy thing to think about as we kind of just look back on this year. Matt Mallery, the superintendent at Merriam Knight, again online at merriamknight.com. All sorts of information available there for the folks in the district. Matt, good to see you. Good to talk with you, and we'll catch up a little bit down the road and see how things are working in the district.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Have a good one.